Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Today's session is going to consist of three sections. And the first section, because chapter 6 is one of the most technical chapters in the whole Gita and the most analyzed, for that reason, we're going to summarize the most important points. The reason for this is I want you to be an expert whenever you say the word meditation. I want you to know exactly what it means when someone says meditation, so that whenever you walk into any chapter 6 class of the Gita, you will know exactly what's going on, where they're going to go next, and what it involves, okay? Because remember, you're probably going to do this probably once, so it's my job to make sure to put the most important points. The second part will be an introduction, a logistical introduction to chapter 7. I need to first tell you how the comparison is between the first section of the Gita, which is chapter 2 to 6, and the second section, which is 7 to 12, and the comparison, because it takes a whole different transition. So going into chapter 7 is going to take a turn. And finally, for those of us who just want to be given a practice of chapter 6 in action, for that reason, we're also going to do a meditation which will embody, at the end, all of the steps that we talked about throughout the entire chapter 6. Okay, so that way you get a hands-down experience, like how do I actually put this in use? So that's exactly what we're going to do. That's what's coming. Okay, so meditation, we already established that it's actually one of the most important sadhanas for any spiritual seeker from any background, without a question. For that reason, meditation has been emphasized over and over again. And meditation, we said, leads to the assimilation of knowledge. However, I want us to first, before going to the assimilation part, I want us to give a Shastra formula, or the order, how Shastra recommends one goes from the beginning to all the way to moksha. There's a certain procedure to that. So the Shastra talks about the first part before even getting into Vedanta is called Upasana. The word Upasana means preparatory meditation. Upasana job is to generally qualify the mind so that when it comes to the class, it's reasonably interested. It's not coming completely unfamiliar with the knowledge. It has some kind of purity. The mind is clear, at least a little bit. And Upasana also mainly reduces Rajas and Tamas. Rajas and Tamas are energies which are agitating, the Rajas. They are annoying. They produce impatience. They produce short temper. They produce short attention. And they make the person generally say, I don't want to meditate. The reason for that is because the mind has so much things going on. That's because of this Rajas energy. And Tamas is this energy of fatigue, tiredness, sleepiness. I don't want to do. I want to sleep. Taking too long rests. And it generally produces dullness. So what I'm saying is Upasana should have ideally already been done before even hearing about Vedanta. The good news is most of us have already been in the spiritual world and we've already done sufficient work. So it doesn't really apply that much, if at all, for this class. But I'm just giving you the order. And also Upasana cultivates sattva, because if you reduce Rajas and Tamas, the natural state of the mind is sattva. Just like the natural state of the mirror is reflective. But because over time, the longer you leave the mirror outside, due to the traffic of people, of the noise. It leaves dust on the mirror. So through the years, this mirror, which was originally very reflective, now becomes extremely hard to see through. That's what we call rajas or tamas. It contaminates the buddhi, and therefore one is very far away from feeling happy. They're looking for gross things to experience happiness. So far, we have established first stage upasana. An example of upasana we've already discussed, karma yoga, a wonderful example of upasana. Remember, karma yoga is about preparing the mind. That's exactly what I just described upasana is. Then you come to shravanam. Now you're decently ready to listen to the knowledge. After listening to the knowledge and working on it, contemplating on it, then you go to the last stage, which is nididhyasanam, which is Vedantic meditation. And we spoke that Vedantic meditation is entertaining thoughts about or related to Atman. This is also why Krishna puts dhyanam, meditation, all the way at the chapter 6. Remember, there's 5 chapters. Did you notice that? Krishna did not put meditation at the beginning. But in the spiritual world, we go and do what? We go straight into meditation. You notice that? So meditation comes right at the end. Now, in regard to these 3 stages, there are 3 scenarios that apply to a Vedantic student. So just listen and see which scenario you are in. Okay. So the first scenario is you have not done upasana at all before coming to class. Okay? Upasana, general spiritual work, general purification, general interest in the nature of who I am. No work at all. Now suppose that's you. When you come to class, what's going to happen is you're going to hear this knowledge, but there will be no value to it. It's going to seem unworthy, unimportant. There's going to be skepticism, hesitation. There's going to be doubt. The value won't be seen. This is the nature of a mind that is still very impure, because it just cannot see. Like, I don't need to hear this. I just need to go elsewhere and have some stimulation of the body. That's how the mind would think. And what's going to happen is the knowledge that's learned and your personality won't mix together, like oil in water. The oil would be like the knowledge received in Shravanam, in class, and water will be like your personality, and oil and water just don't mix. So there will be a gap between what I know and what I am. There will be a gap between what I am as a person and what I have heard in class. So the knowledge will seem kind of distant. It would seem like something to talk about, something to kind of, have a conversation with your friends about. If that is the stage that you resonate with, then the next question will be this. Okay, then what is the solution? See, we'd not say it's too late. We'd not say get out of class, right? The solution for this is karma yoga, highly, highly recommended. And compulsory is Vedantic meditation. So again, if you came to class and haven't done any spirituality before, any kind of meditation work, and come to the highest knowledge in existence, then you're not going to get kicked out. The simple answer is you have 2 recommendations. Karma yoga, which cleans the mirror, and 2, Vedantic meditation, compulsory. Okay, that's the first kind. The second kind is a mind that is insufficiently prepared from upasana. So it has done the work, but it still hasn't sufficiently prepared itself. This is the most common, right? So, you've done the spiritual work, you've been in the worlds here and there, you've seen quite a lot, you've read a lot, but still the mind isn't sufficiently pure. In this case, the knowledge, the jnanam, will take place, okay? You will understand the value. Wow, this is great. I resonate with this. I want to stay. I want to see what more there is to hear. However, assimilation won't take place. So this means I will get it intellectually. It will sound great. I will resonate with it. It will seem like the best thing I've ever heard. However, living it will still be a little bit of a gap. The assimilation part won't be there. So the solution now for the second type is regular Vedantic meditation. Notice I did not say karma yoga, just regular Vedanta, because they already done the work right before they came. Remember, Upasana is karma yoga, but these have already done the work. So the second type, only Upasana, only Vedantic meditation is required. Now, what they have to do is they have to frequently think about the statements received in class in the world. So you take all of the teachings here and you bring them out into the world. That's what Vedantic meditation is, taught by the Acharya. And after doing that, after some time, it is bound to produce knowledge, guaranteed. I know it sounds kind of like far, it's like a big statement, like, even James told me, if you just stick with the program, he kept saying that, stick with the program and it's going to work. But the person who's listening to that, they're like, well, what do I know? How do I know it's going to work? And the truth is, it works like crazy if it's contemplated on, if it's stuck with, because it is a proven system and it cannot be negated due to the multiple analysis done through centuries by the rishis. Yeah. Okay. So remember, if you stick with it, then jnanam will convert into vijnanam. Remember, jnanam is knowledge and vijnanam is direct knowledge. Once again, when I use those two words together, there is a difference. If I just say the word jnanam, I'm actually referring to vijnanam. Okay? Just so you know that. Because in class, I will always say jnanam. When I say jnanam, I'm talking about assimilated knowledge, complete knowledge. But if I put the two words together, jnanam, vijnanam, then there is a difference. Indirect knowledge, direct knowledge. Okay, just for reference. Okay, now suppose the third category, you have done sufficient upasana, right? You've done tons of, you like the spiritual Einstein, the yoga brashtaha we've already talked about, right? You've done it all. Like you're a meditator, you meditate for an hour a day, spirituality is your life, you got time, it's all fine. In this case, shravanam is sufficient. Nididhyasanam is not compulsory. What's shravanam? Listening. Meditation is going to make no difference, if hardly any difference. Why? Because all you need to hear is satya mithya. Satya is the final reality. Mithya is the apparent appearances that I witness all the time. And you're like, is that it? Yeah, that's it. There's nothing more to it. Are you telling me that the unchanging principle, which I already knew about all my life, that's the self? Yep, that's it. Is there anything more to it, to this entire teaching? No. In that case, when a teacher tells you what the self is, and you have enough faith to accept that, because that's what the Upanishads are also saying, your journey is fine. In that case, what is there to meditate? What are you going to get? But who's the meditator? You know the meditator is the mind, but you're still there witnessing the mind meditating. So you can see the stages. Okay. And also what's going to happen is likely you will still continue in Vedanta. That's the irony. Why? Because you just find it interesting. Many people in Vedanta are, they get it. It's fine. It's all assimilated, but they still enjoy listening to the knowledge because it's very helpful. And also you'll probably demonstrate characteristics like pretending like you didn't get it. Humble, like, one day moksha, so much long way to go. But inside, silently, it's all a joke. It doesn't matter to you. So that's one of the characteristics of just a humble person. You can still joke around. You can say, oh, I don't know anything, you know, I'm working the hardest that I can. I hope this life I get it. In fact, my teacher, Advayananda in Chinmaya, very humble, he said something to me, I don't remember exactly what, but I replied to him, and I just remember this. I said, well, actually, I won't see you in the next life, because you know you're a swami, right? You're a teacher. And he said, well, you know, I hope so. You know, we're talking about a senior swami who's been doing this for 40 years. And I said to him, well, you won't be coming back. And he says, oh, I hope so. You know, you see how humble that is? So that's what we're speaking of. Yeah. Okay. Now, just in case you missed the definition between upasanam and nididhyasanam, I want to make a quick comparison so you're absolutely clear. Again, upasanam is preparatory meditation. The word for it is saguna ishwara dhyanam. All this means is you're meditating on Ishwara with characteristics. I'm meditating on the truth using words which symbolize the truth. Okay, clear? Remember what we said about the term meditation? We said saguna brahma vishaya manasam vyaparaha. That's the definition of meditation in the scriptures. So all that really means is the vishaya, the subject matter of meditation, is regarding Brahman with attributes, which is equal to saying saguna ishwara dhyanam. So all you're doing is meditating on attributes. Does this sound like karma yoga? Yeah, because in karma yoga, what are you doing? You're observing laws and orders which you happen to be interacting with, and you're seeing that all of this is caused by the ultimate cause, Ishwara alone. Okay. Upasana is also, besides karma yoga, general devotion, general adoration of the divine. Okay? So we see many expressions of this. We see Dvaita Bhakti, we see puja, we see prayers, we see worship, we see, you know, humility, we see service. All of these expressions are part of upasana. They're all, like you're going to say, what's the point? To prepare the mind, to purify the mind. Remember the mirror? It's like taking a cloth and just, you know, brushing it off. So that's the point of the upasana. Also, upasana includes common sense, not even Vedantic, just common sense discrimination between and dispassion between the, you know, something that is worth my time and something that's just going to kind of come and go. Right? This is like, you know, smart people can even get this. They see what's the point of getting involved in this and going here and going there. You know, it's all going to pass. So that's what I mean by common sense. And that common sense, viveka, also gives you general dispassion in life. So you don't have so much passion about this and that and this, right? Because you know it's going to end, and then I'm probably going to be seeking another hit of a stimulant of some sort. It's never going to end. So that's upasana. So devotion or love of truth is upasana. Okay, so what is upasana?
Devotion and love.
Yeah, exactly. Expressed in different ways. However you express it, that is upasana. Now, nididhyasanam. So that's upasana done. Now, nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam is Vedantic meditation. What it means is this is nirguna ishwara dhyanam. In other words, I am meditating on Ishwara without the qualities, without gunas, which is none other than, what is without qualities? Yeah, Brahman, Brahman. The self, Atman, the self. Self means Atman. So, what you're doing in nididhyasanam is you're dwelling upon the teachings received in class, and you're digesting, you're going over them. Like, what does this mean? What does it mean to say I am unchanging? What does it mean to say I am eternal, right? So, and you're doing this for a length of time. Like with anything, we need time for something to take place. So we need to be realistic about the time factor. So that's why you need to find the necessary time in the day. Now, why do you need the time in the day? And do it over and over again? Because whatever you do repetitively, what happens? It penetrates the subconscious personality. Whatever we do once, it's as good as shaking someone's hand. But if you do something over and over again, it just becomes a part of you. So remember, the repetition factor is very important. Okay. So once it penetrates your subconscious mind, it means simply I and the knowledge are one. It's indistinguishable. When you read the scriptures, you say this is common sense. It's like reading my own story, right? Because why? You have digested it so much. So the knowledge and you are one. That's the result of nididhyasanam. So Vedantic meditation does not, important point, does not produce self-knowledge. It only establishes the person deeper in what they already know. This is called jnana nishta. Jnana nishta is knowledge that is firm, firmly established knowledge. So what happens during meditation and why is it done? Not to get knowledge, because you can only learn how? By listening. Whatever epiphanies you get in meditation are only a result of the previous knowledge received. And it seems like new, but it's actually based on the knowledge you've already received before. Okay. So let's do a summary. Upasana leads to jnanam, qualification. Upasana is, remember, karma yoga, for example. Devotion, love for truth. That leads to what? Qualification to the truth, to the knowledge, self-knowledge. Shravanam leads to self-knowledge. Remember, you need to first get qualified. So now that I'm qualified, I need Shravanam. Now that I'm qualified, I can listen and I can understand it. After I've listened, then we have Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam leads to assimilated, listened knowledge. Not only have I listened to it, but it's become part of self. You cannot distinguish it between a book and yourself. It is so. It is a fact. It is the way it is. It means that the self-knowledge and your personality are one and the same. They are indistinguishable. The knowledge is concrete, it's solid, it's firm, it's unmovable through the times of the worldly transactions. And also, one more point is regarding meditation. When I say meditation, dhyanam has two parts. Whenever we say meditation, this is where all of the confusion comes in the world regarding meditation. The first definition of meditation is upasana dhyanam. What is upasana? General qualifying practices. And the second is nididhyasanam dhyanam. What is nididhyasanam dhyanam? Contemplating on the knowledge. So whenever we say dhyanam, we're only referring to the second type. We are not referring to upasana, because we have already gone through upasana in chapter 3, even though we're going to revisit it in chapter 7, actually coming up, but in a different way. Okay? So we need to first get clear before we start saying meditation. What do you mean? When I say meditation, nididhyasana, Vedantic meditation. We also say that chapter 6 is divided into 5 parts. Okay. The first part was Bahiranga Sadhanani, which means general disciplines throughout life. Does that sound like Karma Yoga? Yeah. So Bahiranga Sadhanani equals Karma Yoga, or equals Yamaha or Niyamaha, or Yamaha do's and don'ts according to the sutras that we have already studied. The second section was Antaranga Sadhanani. What that means is disciplines right before meditation. You have to prepare. Can't just, go from here to there. There's a certain protocol to it. The third was dhyana swarupam. That means the process of meditation, how to. The fourth was dhyana palam. That means the benefits, like what will I get out of the nididhyasana meditation. And the last one was dhyana pratibandha pariharao. In other words, the obstacles and remedies during meditation. Now, I will just cover a few of them to revisit the important points. We talked about Bahiranga Sadhanam, and which is general disciplines, and which means karma yoga. It's a good discipline throughout the day or even in the house, so you never feel like you're wasting time. Now, karma yoga has two principles behind it. The first is to cheerfully accept the actions assigned to you. Cheerfully and gladly. Without, because it's cheerfully. Now, does criticizing, judging, or evaluating the worthiness of the action, does that fit with the word cheerfulness? No, so there's a direct opposition there. So if it's cheerful, it automatically means without criticizing what I am assigned to do, without judging it or without comparing it as though I could have done something better. These last attributes, which I said, criticizing, judging, and evaluating, they create the agitations in the mind that people experience during meditation. So whenever a person closes their eyes, and they will usually complain about noisiness, like I can't stop my mind, the thoughts everywhere, they're flying everywhere. Now the reason for that is because violation of the first principle. I am not cheerfully accepting, I am resisting. In other words, it's as though my mind doesn't want to do it. Actually, my mind doesn't want to do it, but my body has to. This is common in a workplace, right? My boss tells me, I have to do this, otherwise I won't get paid. So my mind complies according to the logic, to the rationale, but the body totally doesn't want to do it. So you need to change your attitude because, see, we can't change the action. Right? You need to, do the action for the sake of survival, whatever it is. So you need to change the attitude behind it. Okay, so when you cheerfully accept the actions given to you, there is a benefit, because now you're going to say, why? Why should I? We need to give the mind a reason. The reason is because, first of all, you purify your mind. That's what Karma Yoga does. So remember the first part of Karma Yoga, cheerfully accepting the actions assigned, and the benefit of this, it purifies and gives me a very pure mind, and it removes, most importantly, the rajasic, profit-driven, self-agenda, constantly thinking, what can I gain out of this? It removes that. Because those very factors is what produces that noise in the mind. It's kind of, we think, some of us kind of walk around going, what's in it for me, and why should I there, right? So these are the very things that need to be reduced, because they do not clean the mirror. As long as they're there, the mirror remains dirty. And also, it means that every action, the benefit is every action is done mindfully. Why? Because the understanding is that every action is not only possible, but also sustained by Ishwara alone. Remember, to enjoy anything, to enjoy good food, you are actually depending on rain, but we don't think like that. Because without the rain, there is no animals, nor is there food to enjoy. To speak and have a nice conversation, I am actually relying on the oxygen from the oceans and the trees. So it makes me very alert that I am never, it makes it impossible to be selfish or greedy or anti-humble. It actually produces a lot of humility, because now I know that I am totally dependent on Ishwara for everything that I love. I love people, I love this, I love that, but all of these things are actually provided by the field itself. And without the field, I am nothing, I am zero. So this introduces a lot of humility, that indeed how beautiful, how great Ishwara is. So that alone will make you then what? Appreciate your actions. Because you're doing it for whom? Ishwara alone. All that is here is God. There's nothing else other than God. So now if I understand that, then what is there to resist? Okay? So we need to start looking at it a little bit differently. Instead of what can I gain out of this, which is what produces that profit-driven agenda, into how can I give? How can I serve? You know, how can I give because I'm giving to whom? To Ishwara alone. Okay, so it changes the attitude automatically. And it also makes the karma yogi not only love, but also appreciate whatever they're given. Right? Now I get to love what I'm doing. Now when you love what you're doing, you have a lot of energy, don't you? A lot of vitality. If I don't like what I'm doing, I feel tired, lethargic, don't feel really happy. So it also gives you a lot of energy. If it doesn't, then start thinking, how is it that I'm actually serving Ishwara alone? Okay, that is your duty. The second part was to accept all consequences gladly. This is called prasada bhava. That means it's an attitude of gratitude. In other words, I accept all karma palam and I gladly, without complaining or criticizing it, it has come, there's nothing I can do about it, now let's address it, right? Instead of wasting my energy on complaining, why me, what did I do to deserve this, why is it that everything, always bad things happen to me? This is all wasting your energy. Just start thinking, okay, what do I do now? What's next? How can we make the best out of this, even if it's apparently, not nice? What can I learn out of this? How can I become a better human being out of this circumstance? So use every situation that comes to you as a lesson, as a motivator, as a maturity builder in itself. So this means you take life, which is like, which seems rough, but if you have a knife, right? Then if you position it in the wrong angle, then the knife is going to become blunt. But with karma yoga, that knife, it tells you how to position it just right, so you end up sharpening your knife, your instrument. What is your instrument? Your body, your intellect, your mind. So you become a very sharp person if you're engaging properly with the world. And that's what karma yoga allows you to do. So karma yoga basically is a very good active stress management system. And this is really good in today's life because, we usually want to kind of get time away from the world. And we say the world's over there, now this is my time. But karma yoga makes it very possible to engage in a very stressful environment and still find the energy, the vitality to appreciate that you're engaging with this apparent challenge. Okay, so it's like fun. It becomes really enjoyable. Let's not get too much out there, but just there's an aspect of thanks. I can do this. I want to do this. Thank you, Ishwara, for offering me. At least I have something to do. Next point is dhyana swarupam. This is mentioned in verse 18 to 32, and it just means meditating, the process of meditating according to how we were taught, Vedantic meditation, which we'll explain now. So it's the actual process. And so the question is, what is Nididhyasanam? The answer is Nididhyasanam. So now we're answering, what is Vedantic meditation? Tell me. The answer is, when the mind dwells on thoughts representing the nature of self, that is Vedantic meditation. When the mind dwells on the subject matter, what's the subject matter? None other than the self. We call that Vedantic meditation. Which means, if you picked it up, the mind is present. We did not say go beyond the mind. Thoughts are being entertained. We did not say stop thoughts. So one thing that we have to understand is the idea of being silent in meditation, which is very common in the yoga world, has nothing to do with Vedantic meditation. I've already explained before, a silent mind in meditation only yields what? Tranquility, solitude, peacefulness, calmness in life. But it does not fix the ignorance problem. Avidya still continues. So, for that reason, in Vedantic meditation, we do not go into silent mode unless you're just interested in feeling happy all day long. We're only interested when you reach that silence, that solitude, that is when you begin entertaining thoughts related to the self. So, Nididhyasanam, once again, is directing the mind to the teachings received in Shravanam during class. So your mind is being actively engaged in meditation. What subject matter should we entertain during Nididhyasanam? The answer is, just in general, the body is not the real I. The sense organs, the mind, the thoughts, the epiphanies, the ahas, anything that is known is discarded because it depends on another principle for it to be made aware by. So we discard anything that is the nature of the mind, emotions, thoughts, memories, and then we say, so you understand it? So first we know what I am not. That's the first part in meditation. The second part is then you say, my real nature is chaitanyam, which means consciousness. In other words, my real nature is the awareness which is aware of all of these things that I just mentioned in the first part, like memories, thoughts, emotions, epiphanies, ahas, insights, revelations. Even the process of thinking, oh, I'm enlightened, I finally got it. Even that is known to you, discard. My real nature is consciousness which is aware of all of them, including the prana. What do I mean by prana? Prana is that which gives you sentiency. Do not mistake awareness with your sentiency. That's a common mistake. We think, oh, okay, I'm aware. But what the person is really saying is, I am sentient, and I am mistaking that sentiency for awareness. Now you're going to ask, well, how do you determine the difference between sentiency, your sense of aliveness, and your awareness? Think about that. I'm not going to answer it, because that's worthy of investigating. We're still in the question of what do we do during meditation. I said, number one, you're not the BMI, you're consciousness. Now you start entertaining attributes of consciousness. Atman, for example, is Satyam, means the absolute non-negatable truth. Atman is Nityaha, imperishable, permanent, unchanging, all-pervading. Atman is, or the self is Asangaha, independent. It is unattached to anything. It does not depend on anything. The self is Akarta, which is it's not a doer. The self is Abhokta. It's not an enjoyer nor a sufferer. Test question. If the self is not a doer, who is the doer? Someone answer. Body mind, yeah. And the self is just obviously aware of the doing done by the body mind. Yeah. Okay. So therefore, Nididhyasanam is simply, in one summary, playing back the recording in class while you're meditating. In class, you're on recording mode. In Nididhyasanam, you're in playback mode. That's all you're doing. So, summary of Dhyana Swarupam, which means Vedantic meditation. First stage, this is where the meditation begins. Dharana, focusing or establishing the focus on the chosen subject matter. I am establishing the focus. That's where it all begins. Just like looking at a safari, the animal, you take your camera and you're beginning to establish the zoom lens onto the animal. So that's dharana. Then next stage, dhyanam, that's the meditation. This means I am retaining the focused condition established in dharana. So I've established my focus. I'm, been doing it in dharana actively. Now that I've established it, I am retaining that in dhyanam. What do I mean by retain? The mind is going to go into the worldly thoughts, guaranteed. So you're doing all you can to bring it back onto the subject matter. And samadhi is absorption in the chosen subject matter, which was established in dharana. Okay, once again, dharana, focus. Dhyanam, retention. Samadhi, absorption. Focus, retention, absorption. A relatable metaphor is like this. We'll take a book. Suppose Martin is reading a book. Now, when Martin begins reading a book, on the beginning, there's always this fight between I want to concentrate on the book and thinking about some thoughts in the world, right? If you read any, like a novel or anything. Now, what are you doing during that stage? You are actively trying to, you're aware, okay, there's thoughts, I'm trying to read, I'm trying to focus. So there's an active process. That's dharana. Once that process you have tried and you have attempted to go through that process, then you're what? You're naturally reading without any problems. Sometimes there's a disturbance here and there, but you can easily put back into the, you're in the flow. There's a book called The Flow, and it takes about 20 minutes to get into the flow after being disturbed. So, but now you're just in the flow. Now, after you're in the flow, you're absorbed in the book. Someone can call your name, you don't even notice. Someone can, really call your name twice, still don't notice. You're totally absorbed in the book. That's called samadhi. So, the important point is, samadhi is nothing mystical, as usually portrayed in the yoga world. Samadhi simply means that due to the established focus and retaining that focus, the momentum has taken over, so much so that it is now spontaneously occurring without me having to apply any conscious efforts. What's more, we have ordinary people who have samadhis every day, and yet we talk about yogis who are talking about nirvikalpa samadhi as though it is the highest accomplishment in life. I tell you, in the yoga world, nirvikalpa samadhi is the highest thing to do. If you can do that, you are the most accomplished yogi. In Vedanta, we simply say there's nothing special about nirvikalpa. Why? Because even ordinary people who are absorbed in their TV program are in nirvikalpa samadhi. There's only this experience. When I say this, that means you're totally with the program. There are people who are absorbed in novels. That's why they like reading books, because they're totally with the book. We even have neighbors who are absorbed in eavesdropping conversations on others, right? That's also nirvikalpa samadhi. So in other words, there is nothing mystical about samadhi at all. We experience this, in various levels, but ordinary people have this all the time. Extreme sports, why are they sometimes done over and over again? It's like, why are you doing this? Because it's so thrilling, it's so dangerous that the person has no choice but to be totally absorbed in the moment. And I tell you, it feels fantastic to be just here with that moment alone, without this knower and the known. It's just experience, it's just knowing. Now let's put this into Vedanta. When this knowledge is assimilated, it is as though being constantly, unceasingly absorbed in the self. So it's not something far, it's not something to experience, it's not something to hear. It's just normal, right? Here, existence. What's so special about existing? And being okay with that. That's called nirvikalpa samadhi, without going in and out of it. Next section, we gave 7 definitions of samadhi between verse 20 and 23. Look at it like this. These are 7 definitions of a jnani. So whatever you're about to hear is exactly what a wise person, what a liberated person is living, normal. The first definition is where the mind is absorbed in itself. What does this mean? Okay, what is the mind? Atman. And the mind is absorbed in itself. In other words, self is absorbed in a self. which doesn't actually make sense, so we'll just say the mind is absorbed in the self. That's why I say the mind is absorbed in the mind. The second the first, what's the attribute of a wise person? They are absorbed in the self. Even to say the word they is a little bit, it's not correct. So we'll just say there's total absorption. That's much better. The second definition is the mind is absorbed in Atma Darshanam. What does this mean? Don't worry, it's the air condition. This means that one has owned up to their highest nature. That means a wise person has simply owned up. There is nothing more to this than just ordinary, common sense, down to earth, non-mystical awareness. That's all there is to this. That's it. That's it. Let's not make it any special. If a kid does not understand this, if a 5-year-old child cannot understand this, the knowledge is probably too intellectual or it is incorrect. Even a child has to understand the basic idea, which is what? I am. Do you need to explain I am to a child? No. The child automatically knows. They kind of quantify for what it means, but just their existence, like I. That's it. Even the child can understand this. It's simple as that. If you really wanted to, shortcut to the highest knowledge, which ironically is the simplest thing in the world, the most obvious, which is you, I, self. The third definition is Atyantika Sukham. This means there is absorption in the maximum ananda. What does maximum ananda mean? Maximum joy. I'm not talking about joy of the world. I'm talking about joy owning to knowledge. How to explain this? Imagine a pure mirror, and the mirror is so clean, so pure, that it's reflecting the sun in its original, uncontaminated reality. In other words, that reflective mirror is the buddhi. Remember, the only place where you can know the self is the buddhi. That's why ironically it's yellow, because buddhi is sattvic by nature, but the mind puts rajas and tamas onto it. So when the buddhi is pure, then it is like wiping the mirror and the original consciousness is always shining on it. And who is looking at that? You are. Your intellect is looking at that. Who's aware of that? You are. The fourth definition is tattva nishta, established in one's highest nature, which is the self. The fifth definition is atyantika labha, which is the stage whereby one has attained the absolute highest in life, in all times, whether we're talking about 10,000 years ago or 10,000 years from now or 2 billion years from now, it doesn't matter. Moksha is the highest purpose of life at any moment of time. Atyantika dukkha nivritti, which means cessation from all suffering, from any problems, because all the problems belong to the body. I'm not saying they're going to stop, I'm just saying that there's this identification, therefore they're belonging to a different order of reality called mithya. The seventh definition is dukkha samyoga viyoga. The person is no longer identified with the gains of anatma. I no longer have an agenda to, be successful or to be seen or to be heard or to be important. Love me please, give me some attention. All of that is completely gone. Dhyana palam. This is the benefit of meditation. The benefit is there is a transformation in personality. Transformation in the way you look at the world. Transformation in how you look at yourself as a person, others, the world, everything. This simply means the world does not change for a wise person. All that changes is how they look at the world. That's the only difference, because we think, liberation means I'm going to see something different or something, everyone's going to have a halo on their head, someone's going to be beautiful. No, everything's the same. That reality called vyavaharika, you do not control, that transactional reality. Everything's the same. Just the world is seeing with the eyes which are educated, owning to Shravanam. Okay, just imagine, I'm just going to put it down to earth. So I said that you do not look at the world differently, you just look at it as it is. So we can now say a jnani sees the world, whether it's a messy world or a heavenly world, exactly the same. I do not mean as in they're unable to discern, it just means they see what is without making something of it. Now let's explain using a metaphor. When a mother walks into a very messy room of her 5-year-old child, she sees and she understands this is because of the nature of the child. When that same mother walks into the different room and sees a very clean, rainbowy, super clean room of her 5-year-old daughter, she says what? Or she understands this is owning to the nature of this child. So she sees both rooms. Tell me this, does the messy room, the messy world that is, and does the heavenly room, the heavenly world, does that affect the essence of the motherhood?
Very difficult question. I think we can't answer. You probably say, can you keep the room clean as the other one?
Yeah. But however, the opinion of course changes. So the expression of one and the other does change. But the essence of motherhood, the love of the mother for both the kids does not get changed. In the same way that jnani sees the messy world, which we would call, if you call it a messy world, it's up to you, it doesn't really matter. Or the jnani sees a very wonderful world, it does not affect the essence of the self. Because the essence of the self, which is love, which is acceptance, which is, yeah, this is the nature of the world. It's going through the times of hardship. It's going through the times of beauty and wonder and love everywhere, love in the air. And now it's going through, that's just the cycle of the world. It's always been like that. It's never going to be any different. So it's fair to expect if the world is seemingly gloomy, let it be, because I really don't control the whole. There's a much greater intelligence that is coordinating this, so I can just, see it for what it is. Like my son's dirty, messy room. Let it be, but it doesn't touch you. Okay. Now, the second benefit is freedom from raga dvesha, which means freedom from attractions and repulsions. This means the attachment to the worlds and things have been released. This is the advantage of meditation. Now you know that attachments is actually the number one problem which agitates the mind, because what comes in meditation? Only those things that I am attached to. It's never something that I have no relation to. So this means to detach from things is to have a pure, clean mind. To have a pure, clean mind is to be able to properly assimilate nididhyasana. To properly assimilate nididhyasana is to convert jnanam into vijnanam, which is indirect knowledge, into direct knowledge, which is called moksha. That's the benefit. Now, one little caution. Preferences are different from raga dvesha. Likes and dislikes and preferences have a subtle difference. For example, I can say I prefer to drink green tea. But it's something totally different to say I need to have my green tea. If I don't have my green tea, my whole day is ruined. I want my green tea. There's a difference there. So I can have my green tea. If you don't have green tea, fine. Just give me some kind of tea. If you don't have tea, give me coffee. If you don't have coffee, give me water. But it's something else. No, you don't have green tea. Let's go buy it. I need my green tea, right? So in other words, the jnani is not a slave to these likes and dislikes, but they still have preferences. So don't think now because the wise person, they have preferences, they want to go there, they're not liberated. That's a very black or white way of looking at it. It doesn't work like that. There's always going to be, and they're okay, to have preferences is fine. Now, the final attachment and the hardest one to let go of is people. That's the hardest one. You can easily detach from objects, from cars, from house, from having to live in a good home. Super simple. You don't even have Vedanta. You don't need Vedanta for this. However, to detach from a person is the toughest. And the way you can do this is very simple. You simply understand that whatever and to whomever you are attached to, when I say attached to, I mean close people to us in our life, simply understand they are Ishwara's alone. They are not my property. Nothing is mine. Not even the body that's claiming another person to be my possession, even that body that's claiming that is not by me. In other words, because none of this is my property, by that alone, if you digest that knowledge, attachment should release. That's one little method of letting go. I have no right to claim anyone as my property because I did not create them. I did not even create this body, which is enjoying trying to own another person. So the main benefit is shanti, in one word. Shanti means calmness. General, and when you're calm, you're sattvic. So that's a direct correlation there. So dhyanam palam is actually moksha. Now, dhyana pratibandha parihara. That means, next section, obstacles and remedies to meditation. This is between verse 33 to 36. We mentioned two words, abhyasaha, which is practice. So how do you remove, okay, when I say obstacles, what do I mean? I'm talking about sleepiness, falling asleep, a mind that is just so agitated, I don't want to meditate. I'm talking about not feeling like it or not wanting to meditate long, right? We just say, oh, 5 minutes is enough. You need to increase that time a little bit more. So we said two parts. First is abhyasaha. Abhyasaha means practice. How do you practice not falling asleep? By waking yourself up again. Every time I fall, I say, no, keep it. Keep my posture, keep my stance. This is important. The second is vairagyam. We said that dispassion is what destroys the two biggest enemies, which is raga, dvesha, slavery. Being a constant slave to likes and dislikes, this is basically what most of our life consists of, getting rid of these raga dveshas, because they're pushing us left and right. So how do we solve this? Dispassion. How do you build the dispassion? Besides talking about it in previous classes, one way is to simply understand none of this is mine. What am I attracted to? I'm just attracted to atoms put together, making a structure that looks like a very nice, put a noun to it, right? What am I attracted to? Just 5 elements. It's going to come and go. It decays. It's going to go away. What's the big deal, right? And it's not the source of joy. How do you know that? Because not everyone finds that joyful. That means the object cannot be joyful. Only you find joy in that, but others don't find joy in that. Which means the object is value neutral. Which means what? I'm putting artificial likes and dislikes onto it and making it something that it does not deserve. It does not deserve the value that I'm giving it. And by that rationalization alone, I can let go and reduce this hold, this slavery of raga dvesha. I have to. Why do I have to? What if I don't? Are other people fine without this? Absolutely. So then what's so special about me that I have to? Right? So you're using your rationalization skills, your intellect, to take hold of this emotional raga dvesha slavery. So raga dvesha does what? It creates what I call a promotional mind. You know promotions, how they're constantly advertising you? Look at me. No, this is better. No, buy this. No, wait a minute. There's something that you should look at this. Well, actually, that's not. There's something even better. Well, that's kind of true, but I have something new for you, right? So it's constantly promoting you with these thoughts about conversations, about other people, about different schools. So it's a promotional mind. And promotional mind equals raga dvesha. How do you remove raga dvesha? Dispassion. How do you engage in dispassion? Through rationalization, that whatever I'm attracted to is just 5 elements. That's all it is. Also, according to Shastra, you have no enemies. You don't have a single enemy in your life. The only person that agitates you is the one to whom there is a raga dvesha associated to, or at least the quality which they share. And because he has triggered my like and dislike, I allowed myself to be disturbed. So if someone speaks in a certain manner and you find that annoying, is that their problem? Absolutely not. Why? Because not everyone finds that annoying. You'd find it annoying. So that means it's your problem. So that means what? You need to look at that until it's released. And ironically, that's going to come up in meditation. That person who annoys you. So in other words, it's not the person who annoyed me, but what? My raga, dvesha, which I had towards the attributes that that person exhibited. And because I have not addressed the raga, dvesha through karma yoga, remember that's the purpose of karma yoga, I allowed the person to then become my reality in the most important moment called meditation. One way you can test if you're attached to someone is simply ask, if this person were to be away from me for 3 months, would I feel shaky? Would I feel uncertain? Would I feel something's not right? Would I feel like I need some company? Would I want to call them? If the answer is yes, there's attachment. How do you deal with attachment? Simply understand. This is Ishwara's property. I can be attached, but I don't have to be that attached, because who am I being attached to? Just a thought. I'm being attached to the thought of that person, because there is no person over there. Everything is a thought in the one mind. So you're just attached to a thought that represents a certain symbol which you have likes and dislikes, and you're allowing that to then become part of your reality. Yeah. So you need to use rationalization to make it easy for this attachment factor to go away. Verse 37 to 45, Arjuna's pessimism was addressed. This is the last verses. Krishna said, you cannot lose if you're in this journey of the spiritual pursuit, because if you gain knowledge, that is jnanam, and it's not converted into vijnanam, into direct knowledge, then the benefit is, due to the substantial punya earned of listening to the scriptures, the benefit is swarga loka palam. That means heaven. If the knowledge is assimilated, then the benefit is you've accomplished the highest purpose in life, the end of rebirth. We also said after swarga, the punya is exhausted, owing to the listening of the scriptures. Then you're reborn in a place that's conducive to continuing the spiritual journey where you left off. This means that you will start very early on in the next life. So what is there to lose? That's what Krishna says to Arjuna, to reassure his pessimism. And he also said then, because of these benefits, there's no reason to be pessimistic. What is there to speed up? You get a new round, you get a new chance. We all do. If you cannot fail if your eye is on this knowledge, it's impossible to fail. So chapter 6 done completely. Part 2, we will now compare, give you a structure of the Bhagavad Gita. This is important so you know, because it's going to build on and help us with chapter 7. The Gita is split into 3 sections. The first section is chapter 1 to 6. Second section is 7 to 12. And third section is 13 to 18. The first section, chapter 1 to 6, actually 2 to 6, because remember we didn't cover number 1, only because it just tells you about the characters, who Duryodhana is, the Pandavas, Kauravas. The teaching starts from chapter 2. So from 2 to 6 deals with Tvam, Tattvamasi. The Tvam part is all about you, the person. What is your nature as a person? So we have now done everything we have to say about you as a person. The Tvam part. This is called Prathama Shatkam. Shatkam means 6. Prathama means first. So the first section is all about Tvam, you. The second section, chapter 7 to 12, is all about Tat. Tat, part of the Tattvamasi, is all about, what does Tat mean? Tat, that. In other words, it's all about Ishwara. So now we're really delving into what is Ishwara. We haven't even scratched the surface of it, even though I have dispersed it throughout the year, here and there. The last section is Asi. Asi is the binder that connects the Twat and the Tvam and Tat. What is the commonality that both Tat and Tvam enjoy? Which is Brahman alone. So only in the last section between 13 and 18, we will actually bring this together and see how there is no difference between the microcosm and the macrocosm. So we're now only going now on the macrocosm, section 2. Understand? So far we are now on section 2. We're now going to address the macrocosm. All we have done so far, 2 to 6, is the microcosm. Now chapter 2 to 6, Prathama Shatkam, is split into 3 sections. This means we talked about 3 very important sections, and I'll explain them again because it will help us. What have you actually done since the beginning of last year? The first section of, or topic of chapter 2 to 6 is Jiva Swarupam. It talks about the nature of the individual. And it said that the individual is not a body. That was the basis of the message. You are not the body. You are not the mind. You're not the sense organs. The essential nature of the individual is Chaitanyam, the consciousness principle, which is aware of all of them, which is seemingly contained in this body-mind container. So your body-mind is like a cabinet or a container. And the consciousness is seemingly contained in that cabinet, in that container. So the body-mind are presented as containers. So that means we can start calling each other containers now. Hey, containers. Notice how jnanis speak. They call each other 5 elements because it's clear, right? You're just a bunch of atoms. So the body-mind is represented as a container or a cabinet. And within this body-mind cabinet or container, which is now listening to these words, the real Purusha, you heard the word Purusha, individual devoid of roles, the real Purusha is none other than Atman, the Self, Chaitanyam, Satchidananda. This was discussed very clearly in chapter 2, verse 12 to 25. So if you want to have a description of the self, then go between verse 12 to 25, chapter 2. This is also discussed in chapter 3, verse 42, where we analyzed Pancha Kosha Viveka, a very powerful teaching, which tells us that I am not the 5 bodies. I am not the Annamaya Kosha. Anything that has to do with the gross, not I. Anything that has to do with the Pranamaya Kosha, heartbeat, excretion, digestion, circulation, not I. Anything that has to do with the Manomaya Kosha, emotions, that's not me either. Anything that's got to do with thinking, analyzing, epiphanies, thinking, oh, I got it, that's also known to you, it's got nothing to do with you. Anything that has to do with Anandamaya Kosha, any kind of bliss experience during meditation, 0 to do with you. Any kind of ecstasy, any kind of going to some different world and experiencing the greatest joy ever, nothing to do with you either. So we can use that for negation. And then we also, chapter 4, which we intertwined with chapter 5, if you remember, also has a description of consciousness, of Chaitanyam Atma, describing it as a karta, which means the non-doer, and abhokta, which is not an enjoyer nor a sufferer. Somebody answered the question, who is the enjoyer or sufferer? You said it's the principle which accommodates the emotions, specifically, I know you said the body, I think, but specifically want to be right, sukshma sharira, because all of the joys and pains happen in your mind alone. If you want to look at it on a gross level, if there's a pain on the arm, the sensation has to travel to the brain, and the brain is just a physical expression of the mind. Caution, the mind is not in the brain is in the mind. Because the science would say, oh, the mind is, your brain. It's the other way around. And also, in chapter 5, verse 13, we said, Navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvan nakarayan, which says that consciousness is the true nature of the individual, and this consciousness is not a doer. So why did I just say all of these statements? To tell you how there is a correlation of what the jiva is, all the way from chapter 2, 3, 4, 5. So the conclusion is the jiva swarupam equals Satchidananda Atma, or just Atma. You don't even put Satchidananda. So your true nature is the self. What is the self? I said last week, that which is self-evident, which is aware-full, and which cannot deny its own existence. You can't say that you don't exist. Self-aware-full or self-evident aware-full existence. Second stage of the second section of chapter 2 to 6. Okay, you know where we are now? I've done chapter 2 to 6. The first section is Jiva Swarupam. The second section, the big section, was Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the first stage of sadhana before anything. And Karma Yoga, we said, is 2 attributes or 2 descriptions: proper action and proper attitude. That's how you describe Karma Yoga. So far, what have we described? First section, Jiva Swarupam, the nature of the self, which is Atma. And the second is Karma Yoga. What's the third major section between chapter 2 and 6? Purusha Pratyanam. Is it Purusha Prayatanam. Purusha Prayatanam means the importance of individual self-effort. Taking charge. Never underestimating that you do have the ability to exercise and you do have the freedom to will. What does it mean to have freedom to will? I am exercising my freedom to will whether I want this or that, i.e., the importance of free will. Because the misconception that still flies around and will continue to do so is we think that the law of karma means that it's equivalent to fatalism, right? That everything is already written in stone. You already have your destiny stamped on the forehead, and there's nothing we can do about it. This is not what law of karma is. Law of karma is very clear. It says today's action modifies tomorrow's results. Tomorrow is a result of what I have done today. In other words, if I want to have a successful life tomorrow, I need to look at that and say, what can I modify today to make that most probable or most likely tomorrow? This also means that in summary, your present actions today that you do, the things that you say, the things that you do, how you think, is what is forming, what is formulating, what is structuring your destiny tomorrow. So this means take charge of your actions today, because today's actions is what makes tomorrow's quality of life worth or not worth being in. So if you ask yourself, do I want to be in tomorrow's day? If the answer is gladly yes, it's only because today's actions are in total harmony. If I am afraid of the future, I don't want to be in the future, concerned about the future, there's only one reason for that. It is because your present actions today are not in harmony with Dharma. They're out of alignment. We spoke of, firstly, Dharma. Dharma is the ethics, what is right and what is wrong. We also said, following that is Artha, wealth, security, Kama, desire, or enjoying life, and finally Moksha. These 4 stages means that the goal, because these are the 4 goals of life. So if you want to ask what is the purpose of life, these 4 goals. The 4 goals of life are selected, chosen by, effortfully put into action by the human alone. You're the one who chooses your actions, not some despotic, dictatorial Bhagavan sitting at some place who is, a sadist, who is enjoying people's sufferings and enjoyments. So this means these four goals have to be fully taken charge by you, which is why moksha is absolutely possible. Why? Because you're the one who is present. You're the one who can say what I want to do and I don't want to do.
What was the Sanskrit word for the four goals?
Four purusharthas. So this means Ishvara has no authority to choose for you your destiny. Because for an Ishvara who is choosing, immediately makes it a God who has own personal likes and dislikes. All that Ishvara is an impersonal totality which fulfills the effects of the causes done or performed by you, the individual. That's all Ishvara is. It fulfills the effects, a result of what? The causes that you have done through your free will alone. For example, one of laws of Ishvara is gravity. If I drop this, then due to the existence of this law being all-pervasive, that law is obligated to fulfill my request through my free will and provide me the result of this going from here to here. So in the same way, apply action that is conducive with the life worth living tomorrow. This is also supported in chapter 6, verse 5, which said, Uttared Atmanatmanam. So Krishna said, lift yourself, how? By yourself. Not, have someone else lift you up, but by yourself. That means you can do this by yourself.
So the laws, destiny does exist according to the laws of Ishvara.
According to how you put the causes into the field.
So if you don't take care of something and let it go, then it's...
That's it. So it's obligated. It's obligated to give you, respond to your non-taken care of. So this means, the 6-5 also means that God is willing to assist you only if you take charge, if you take initiative first. That's the key here. Because it has no power, it has no authority to help you unless you ask. Did you ever, if you ever seen someone who's struggling in something, like a child, and even an adult is struggling in something, and then they're like trying to get something, and what happens automatically? People notice this, and someone always comes up and says, "Can I help you?" You see that? Yeah. And that's just on the microcosmic level, let alone the benevolence, right? Even though to say benevolent to Ishvara is incorrect.
Is that only through action?
Through action alone, yeah.
Action alone, yeah.
Yeah, because action is what creates the effect, the causes. And every cause, by law, has to have an effect.
Yeah. So no, it would be not, if, I should say that again, not the intellect only, that would have no effect.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put a formula to that. That's going to tie with... There's a statement that very beautifully puts a logic to this. It says, watch your thoughts. Why? Because they determine your words and actions. Okay, and watch your words and actions because they determine your habits. And watch your habits because it shapes your character. Okay, and watch your character because it creates your destiny. So let's trace this back. Destiny is a result or caused by your character. The character is caused by your habits. But what causes the habits? Your words that you use every day and your actions that you put into the field. And what determines the words and actions? My thoughts. Thoughts determine words and actions. Words and actions determine or create your habits. If you don't like your habits, what's the problem? Go back to the cause. What's the cause of your habits? Words and actions. What's the cause of words and actions? Thoughts. Change your thoughts. So in other words, from destiny to thought, all of these things you don't have to worry about. You only have to worry about your thoughts, because thought determines your destiny. So far we have talked about number 1, karma yoga. Number 2, number 1 was jiva swarupam. Number 2, karma yoga. And 3 was importance of self-effort. First section of the book done. So chapter 2 to 6 complete. So now the second section, Madhyama Shatkam, which is chapter 7 to 12, which is what we're now going on to. I'm going to give you a comparison. The first, it's also divided into 3 sections, okay? The first section is called Ishwara Swarupam. That means the nature of Ishwara. And I'll give you now a comparison so you can relate to something that you already know and something that we don't or may not know completely. The first point is in chapter 2 to 5. Why did I say 2 to 5 and not 2 to 6? Because 6 doesn't have much on the self at all. It's just meditation. So technically it's 2 to 5. Chapter 2 to 5 highlights Jiva Swarupam. In other words, tells you the nature of the body, mind, intellect. What is the actual nature of this person? That's what chapter 2 to 5 did. Chapter 7 to 12 highlights the Ishwara Swarupam. So the first, chapter 2 to 5, Jiva Swarupam. This one, which is 7 to 12, Ishwara Swarupam, which is the nature of the ultimate causeless cause. That's what Ishwara is, the ultimate causeless cause. In chapter 2 to 5, we said that the jiva is nothing but the microcosm. That's it. That's all a jiva is. Just a microcosm, called in Sanskrit vyashti. And comparing that to chapter 7 to 12, Ishwara is, then has to be what? The macrocosm, called samashti. Now, question, what is the macrocosm in actuality? All of the microcosms put together equals macrocosm. So what is Ishwara? Swarupam then? The entire. What is the macrocosm? Just one individual. What is the ocean? The whole. What is the ocean made of? Hundreds and thousands and millions of waves. In other words, the ocean is the macrocosm. The waves are the microcosm. Vyashti and Samashti. Chapter 2 to 5, there is not much on Ishwara. Even though the way I taught it, I put a lot of Ishwara teachings anyway. Comparing to chapter 7 to 12, right from the first verse, Krishna is going to go into the function of Ishwara, the nature of Ishwara, the glory of Ishwara, the definition of Ishwara, all Ishwara. Everything is all about Ishwara between 7 to 12. So if you don't know what Ishwara means by the time 7 to 12, it's probably willful ignorance on your part. So there's no way you're not going to know. That's how much we're going to get into it. Jiva Swarupam, between chapter 2 to 5, says that Jiva Swarupam has 2 components. The first is it has a body. In other words, remember the word I used? Container. So it has a container, and the essence of this Jiva Swarupam, which is Atman. So once again, the first principle is the container, and the essential nature of this container is Atman. Comparing that to 7 to 12, Ishwara also has 2 aspects. This means Ishwara has the superficial aspect called matter, the total physical body called Virat. We'll get into this. But it also has the essential inner nature of God, which is Atman. Also, remember, Atman just simply means Brahman from the standpoint of creation. Now, chapter 2 to 5, the Jiva is a mixture of Atman and Anatman, spirit and matter. Comparing that to 7 to 12, Ishwara is also a mixture of Atman and Anatman. A more accurate term for Ishwara thus is Saguna, Nirguna, Swarupa. It is both Saguna and it is also Nirguna. Understand why? What is Ishwara? From the standpoint of creation, it is both Saguna and Nirguna, because the truth of Ishwara is what? Brahman. And Brahman is Nirguna. So therefore, Ishwara is also Nirguna. Because from the standpoint of creation, there's consciousness, because you cannot give an attribute to consciousness, and Ishwara is consciousness. But also, there's creation, Maya Shakti, so therefore, it is Saguna. So then we'll get into the details of this. Okay, the second part of chapter 7 to 12 is the sadhana, which is another name, upasana. So we're going back to upasana. Isn't that strange? However, there's a comparison. Chapter 2 to 6, the upasana is what? Karma yoga. Chapter 7 to 12, okay, so what is karma yoga? Meditation on Ishwara through physical action. Because you're actively participating, so it's physical. Now, then what is upasana in 7 to 12? If the first one is on through physical action, then this one has to be through mental activity. So it's one step higher. You see how we're going from gross to subtle? Before it was all I need to contribute, I need to give, I need to offer to the field, I need to worship the field. But now we're going more subtle, which is, it is a Saguna Ishwara Dhyanam. I'm meditating on Ishwara with attributes. So this means that Karma Yoga, don't worry, we'll finish soon and then we'll do the meditation. Karma Yoga is for active, busy, dynamic, moving types. If you're that kind of person, Karma Yoga is for fantastic, because you're always worshipping Ishwara amidst your movements, amidst your busy life. Whereas Upasana Sadhana, which is the second section of chapter 7 to 12, is learning to withdraw and focus on what? On qualities of Ishwara. Remember, Upasana means Saguna Ishwara Dhyanam. Meditating on Ishwara with attributes. Now you're going to ask, why should I? Because this is how the modern non-dual world speaks. Why should I know anything about God? Right? I'm awareness. Right? I don't need to know anything about Ishwara. The answer is very simple. You cannot accept what you don't understand. What do you mean by that? Accept what? Okay, where do you find yourself most of the time? In the world. What's the world? Ishwara's laws and orders. Are you apart from the world? No. Your body came from the world, came from food, came from parents. So if I cannot accept the world, if I don't understand the world, can I accept the world? And are you apart from the world? No. In other words, if I do not understand the world, I cannot accept myself. And if I cannot accept myself, I cannot accept you. You cannot accept what you don't understand. This is why Upasana Sadhana is important, to meditate on attributes of Ishwara. I know you're going to say this is all Dvaita. It doesn't matter. This is a world of creation. Therefore, I have to know the symbolism, the understanding of Ishwara in the form of words, in the form of understanding, in the form of knowledge. And lastly, third section, chapter 7 to 12, grace of God, grace of Ishwara. We'll talk about what this word grace means. Ishwara Anugraha. This is actually a very important aspect to have because it is the matter of being humble or arrogant. So, the comparison between the first section of the book and the second is chapter 2 to 5 talked about what? Individual effort. Now, chapter 7 to 12, Krishna is going to give us a warning. And he's going to say, do not think by your effort alone. Why? Because it's going to lead to arrogance. Krishna says, be confident, but neither overconfident nor underconfident. So you're going to ask, okay, what does it mean to say under and over? To be overconfident means this: I can do anything. I don't need anyone. I can do anything. I'm totally independent here. Does that sound like an arrogant or a humble person? Very arrogant. I don't need anyone's help. You know, hello, you're breathing air. You're using Ishwara's resources to even say that. I'm using food to sustain this body and then to do things which I then claim I am doing. I first borrowed resources from earth in order to get the result of this creation, whatever it is. So, overconfidence, if there is an overconfidence, what happens 10 out of 10 times is Bhagavan at the most appropriate time will give you something equivalent of a smack on the head. Now, why? Simply because it is to bring or induce humility back into the person. We see this very often. Sometimes a businessman thinks they can make infinite amount of money, or they can date as many women as they want, they can sleep around, and suddenly they get a disease or get an accident, or something happens so much they're totally paralyzed, immobilized, can't move, and they're forced to recontemplate their life, and that causes them to reintroduce that most important aspect called humility, and then see others equally, to see others more closer to them. Instead of this big separation, I'm here, you're there. This is not how it works. This is called overconfidence. Then what is underconfidence? Underconfidence is the other extreme. It says, whenever I fail at anything, instantly there are thoughts of wanting to give up. I am not worth it. This is not for me. This is not meant for me. This is not my time. I am powerless. What's the point? I'm just a small person. I'm this person. I'm that person. My background is not this. Right? All of the thoughts of discouragement start settling in. This is underconfidence. The person gives up too easy, too fast. Now, what's the point of anything? That kind of underconfidence. Now, Krishna is going to say or teach us about what's called the middle path. I am neither overconfident nor underconfident. I simply see both for what they are without moving me, the self, at all. So I see things as they are. Just like the mother sees both the messy room and the clean room, but it doesn't affect the motherhood essence. It doesn't affect her confidence in herself, even though it can seemingly be scarred sometimes by the naughtiness of the child, but the mother is still a mother. And Krishna says, therefore, do effort, gladly, apply effort, but never forget me. Remember, all of your effort is backed up by me. So what this makes, or does, is makes the person extremely humble. It makes basically Ishwara like your best friend. And I'm not now, let's not get philosophized, who's this other best friend. It's just presence of God is always available. Always to feeling this sense of closeness, sense of unity. So that's what Ishwara grace is. Another name for this is prasada, Ishwara prasada. Prasada means grace. So this is called the balanced attitude, the middle way, the middle path, and we will learn about how to be in this, in the middle without going to extremes. So far we have mentioned Ishwara Swarupam, the nature of Ishwara. We have mentioned Upasana, Sadhana, that's your practice. And we have also now covered grace of God, Ishwara Anugraha. Chapter 7 is small, but it's powerful. So next week we begin chapter 7. Now we will close, and then I will speak to you whether you want to stay for meditation or go. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.